The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The disciples were on the way, going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus went ahead of them. They were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. Taking the 12 aside again, he began to tell them what was going to happen to him. "Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him, spit upon him, scourge him, and put him to death. But after 3 days he will rise." Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." He replied, "What do you wish me to do for you?" They answered him, "Grant that in your glory we may sit one at your right and the other at your left." Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the chalice that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized?" They said to him, "We can." Jesus said to them, "The chalice that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right or at my left is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at James and John. Jesus summoned them and said to them, "You know that those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be the slave of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Just yesterday, for the first time probably in a couple of years, I picked up my favorite spiritual work that has most assisted me during my time of prayer, my daily holy hour. I've turned to it numerous times over the years. The book is entitled, "Give Me a Living Word." And the author takes that quote from the early fathers, the early desert fathers. People would go out to them for spiritual advice, and what they would say when they got there is they would say, "Father, give me a word. All right, tell me something that's going to help me in my spiritual life." So it's a book of maxims on prayer, a number of short sayings, oftentimes with a story to illustrate the point. And what I flipped through yesterday, and God is so good that He always gives me these things right before I have to give a homily. What I flipped through yesterday, he makes the point, he says, the more a person's prayer life develops, the more they grow in intimacy with God, the more of a concern they become with the seemingly petty matters in the life of others, their difficulties, their trials, their miseries. And he makes the point of this saintly priest who oftentimes he had an elderly woman in his parish, and he would visit with her after Mass, and he would go up and he would oftentimes ask this lady about her chickens and ducks. And there was another person in the parish, a younger gentleman, and he thought, he couldn't possibly be the holy man that people think he is. Why would he care about such things as that? And finally one day this young man got a little frustrated. He sees this priest talking about chickens and ducks with this older woman. He walks up after the lady leaves and he says, "Father, why do you care about such things like that? Shouldn't you could be spending that time in prayer or something else, something more important?" And the priest is surprised and says, "But that's all the poor woman has to live on. Of course I would care about such things." He says the saints can allow themselves to be deeply moved. Our Lord says, "Whoever wishes to be great among you will be the servant, the slave of all." Serving others, even in the tiniest little ways. One of my favorite priests one of the most exemplary priests that I've ever read about is the Bishop of Mexico City last century, Archbishop Luis Martinez. When he was installed as bishop, and I was just at the ordination of the bishop last week, and so it's been on my mind. When he was installed, after the installation of the bishop, oftentimes the bishop will get up and he'll give a very long talk at the end of the Mass. So this bishop, Luis Martinez, he's installed. He comes to the podium and there's loud cheers, cries. People are so excited to have him as their new bishop. He says one thing to the people, one statement. He says, I am here to promise you only one single thing. I come to give my life for you. Towards the end of his life, a good friend of his, another priest, said, I know the Archbishop very well. He is an excellent priest. He has only one defect. He never knows how to say no to anything. Someone told the Archbishop what his friend had said. A smile appeared on his face, and with his good proverbial humor he replied, the worst of it is, I do not intend to correct that defect. May we too become the servants of all.